Most people fear silence because it exposes their weakness. They speak to fill the void, to mask their insecurity, to prove they exist. But the loudest man in the room rarely holds the power. He's too busy trying to be seen to notice who's truly in control. The real power belongs to the one who observes in silence, who calculates while others perform. Because silence is not emptiness, it is dominance disguised as stillness. Watch any room carefully. The man who speaks least controls the flow. Everyone else orbits his calm like planets around a fixed sun. Why? Because silence creates tension, and tension commands attention. The talkers rush to fill it, to ease their discomfort, revealing everything, their intentions, their insecurities, their weaknesses. The silent man gives nothing away. He listens, watches, learns. He plays chess while others are still explaining the rules. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool speaks, reacts, and reveals. The wise man pauses, processes, and strikes when the moment is certain. Silence gives you that advantage, the ability to act only when victory is assured. Power doesn't need to announce itself. It exists in presence, not volume. In every conversation, meeting, or conflict, the one who can remain composed and unreactive owns the frame. Talkers depend on words to create value. Strategists create value through restraint. Every second you resist the urge to speak, you're collecting data, mapping weaknesses, and controlling tempo. That is the art of true authority, not in being heard, but in being felt. The paradox is simple. The quieter you become, the more they start to notice you. They begin to interpret your silence, project meaning onto it, and eventually respect it. What they don't understand, they fear. And fear is the oldest form of obedience. This video will teach you how to turn silence into strategy, how to move from a reactive speaker to a calculating observer. You'll learn the laws of quiet dominance, the psychology of presence, and how to make your silence louder than any speech. Because in the realm of power, noise is for the insecure, silence is for the king. Silence doesn't mean weakness, it means control. Most people talk themselves out of power. They don't lose influence because they lack intelligence. They lose it because they can't stay silent. Every explanation, every justification, every attempt to be understood is a small surrender of control. The insecure man needs to be seen as right. The powerful man only needs to be right. There's a difference. Silence terrifies the average person because it forces them to confront what they truly are. Uncertain, reactive, and afraid of being forgotten. When there's no noise to hide behind, they have to face the truth. Their words are armor for insecurity. The louder they speak, the more they reveal the fear behind their confidence. Think about it. In any argument, who earns more respect? The one who shouts or the one who listens unmoved and lets the other exhaust themselves? The calm, silent observer always wins, because silence projects control. It suggests knowledge, restraint, and dominance. The one who doesn't need to speak commands the room without effort. We live in an age addicted to noise, where every thought is posted, every emotion broadcast, and every insecurity disguised as authenticity. People overshare because they fear being irrelevant. They chase likes, comments, and validation as proof of existence. But true power doesn't chase, it attracts. The man who speaks less becomes a mystery, and mystery breeds respect. Every time you rush to explain yourself online, to defend your choices, or to prove your worth, you lower your status. You hand over the one thing that makes power magnetic: restraint. The kings of every era understood this. Silence builds curiosity, and curiosity builds influence. You don't need to shout to be heard. You need to make your presence felt in the absence of noise. To rule your world, you must master the art of calculated silence. You must train yourself to be comfortable in the tension others fear. Because silence isn't passive, it's strategic. It's the pause before the move, the calm before the strike, the space where power gathers before being unleashed. When you learn to stop explaining, you stop bleeding power. And when you stop bleeding power, you start commanding it. Law 1. Speak less than necessary. Always, power begins where noise ends. The moment you open your mouth, you give the world clues about your emotions, your fears, your limits. The more you talk, the more you reveal your strategy. That's why the truly powerful speak less than necessary. They let others expose themselves through words while they build leverage through silence. Every sentence is a potential weakness. Every unnecessary word gives people a map to your intentions. The man who talks too much invites interpretation, contradiction, and manipulation. But the man of few words controls the frame. He dictates tempo, sets emotional tone, and forces others to fill the silence with their own insecurity. History's greatest strategists understood this instinctively. Napoleon Bonaparte's commanders were known for their short, minimal replies, every word precise, deliberate, and final. They never tried to impress with language. They commanded with brevity. Their silence bred respect and unease because it implied control. You can't predict a man who doesn't need to explain himself. Most people talk to be understood. Kings talk to direct. When you speak less, every word gains weight. People lean in. They analyze your tone, your pauses, your expression. Silence transforms ordinary statements into authority. The less you say, the more they listen. Silence is not weakness, it's psychological warfare. The man who can resist the urge to fill the void owns it. Others start to reveal their plans, their desires, their fears, just to escape the discomfort of your calm. This is how you gain information without asking. Every unnecessary sentence they speak becomes a weapon you can later use. To apply this law, master the discipline of restraint. Before you respond, ask yourself one question. Does this strengthen or weaken my frame? If it weakens your presence, don't speak. Let silence do the talking. In negotiation, in argument, in leadership, the man who speaks last wins. Because silence gives you the one thing every impulsive person lacks: control over timing. In daily life, make brevity your armor. Replace paragraphs with sentences. Replace explanations with statements. Replace reaction with observation. You'll notice that your words begin to carry power. Not because you said more, but because you meant more. Remember, kings don't compete for attention. They create it through restraint. Speak less than necessary, always. Let your silence echo louder than the noise of ordinary men. Law 2. Master the power of the pause. Power isn't just in what you say, it's in when you say it. The space between your words can command more attention than an entire speech. The pause is a weapon most people overlook because they fear silence. But kings understand that a few seconds of deliberate stillness can make an audience lean forward, an opponent lose composure, and a follower feel awe. The pause is not hesitation, it's control. Humans are addicted to certainty. When there's silence, their minds scramble to fill the gap. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you'll say next, and whether they've said too much. The pause forces them into your rhythm. It makes them chase your response. That is psychological dominance. Controlling the tempo of attention through absence, not abundance. In every interaction, words are noise, but pauses are gravity. They pull focus toward you. They make everything you say before and after sound intentional. A man who pauses isn't searching for words, he's choosing the perfect moment to release them. This calculated silence builds suspense, and suspense builds authority. Think of an interview, an argument, or a negotiation. The one who fills every second with words loses power. The one who pauses, who allows silence to breathe, creates pressure. People can't stand stillness. They start revealing more, talking faster, trying to win your approval or fill the void. Meanwhile, you learn, calculate, and wait. Every second they spend filling the silence is another second you spend gaining control. The great leaders, orators, and generals all mastered this invisible art. They spoke slowly, calmly, and intentionally. When they paused, the room froze. Every listener hung on to their next word as if it were law. That's not charisma, that's pacing. Control your rhythm, and you control perception. To apply this law, start training your voice to work with silence, not against it. Slow down your speech. Pause before answering. Let your words land before adding another. In conversation, count 2 silent beats before responding. Watch how people start to shift, explain more, or soften their tone. That's your signal that the pause is working. Powerful communication isn't about volume or speed. It's about precision and control. The pause gives weight to your presence, turning ordinary moments into statements of dominance. Master the pause, and you master the room. Let silence become your punctuation. Sharp, deliberate, commanding. Because every man can talk, but only the powerful can pause. Law 3. Observe before you speak. Power is earned before a word is uttered. The king, the true strategist, never speaks first. He studies the room, reads the currents of conversation, and maps the intentions of everyone present. The fool speaks immediately, revealing his thoughts, biases, and weaknesses. The wise man observes, absorbs, and waits, because in observation lies dominance. Every gesture, every pause, every fleeting expression is information waiting to be converted into advantage. Look at figures like Leonardo da Vinci or Niccolo Machiavelli. Their mastery wasn't in speech, but in observation. They dissected human behavior, analyzed patterns, and anticipated outcomes long before taking action. Da Vinci mapped people as if they were pieces on a chessboard, understanding how influence and attention flowed. Machiavelli instructed leaders to study those around them, to know who could be leveraged, who could be manipulated, and who must be neutralized. Observation created their power. Words merely confirmed it. In every room you enter, speak last, not first. Let others reveal themselves through their chatter, their urgency, their insecurity. Their words, uncontrolled and unmeasured, become your intelligence. They expose motives, desires, and fears. And you, by remaining silent, retain the high ground. You shape perception without confrontation. You steer the room invisibly, guiding actions and decisions before a single command is needed. Application is simple. Cultivate the discipline to listen first and respond only when your knowledge has positioned you advantageously. Observe the energy, the alliances, the hidden tensions. Track what is said, what is avoided, and what is subtly implied. Let your silence communicate calm authority, patience, and insight. When you finally speak, your words are strategic, precise, and unavoidable. Rule: the man who listens rules the man who speaks. Internalize this principle. Every conversation becomes a battlefield where listening is your armor and observation is your weapon. Speak only when your words strengthen your frame, shift perception in your favor, or solidify your authority. Until then, remain the observer. Your power lies not in filling the silence, but in mastering it. By observing before speaking, you convert the ordinary into the extraordinary. You are no longer merely present. You are the invisible force shaping every outcome. Presence, perception, and patience. These are the marks of a true king. Law 4. Use silence to expose weakness. Silence is not passivity, it is a weapon. In conflict, in negotiation, in subtle power struggles, the man who refrains from immediate response seizes control. When you remain silent while others speak, they fill the void with words that betray their true nature. Insecurity, guilt, impulsiveness, and fear all spill out when confronted by the calm presence of someone who does not react. Silence forces exposure. It compels others to reveal more than they intended. Napoleon's wisdom echoes through history. Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. Every word your opponent utters in haste, in anger, or in need of validation becomes a map of their weaknesses. By staying silent, you turn their voice into your instrument. Each over-explained thought, each emotional outburst, each attempt to provoke you is leverage. You are no longer responding. You are collecting, analyzing, and gaining influence without uttering a single word. Consider the modern world. Meetings, arguments, even personal relationships. The reactive individual believes they must speak to defend, justify, or correct. The master understands that by listening and remaining still, others self-sabotage. They disclose motives, betray alliances, and confirm suspicions. The power dynamic shifts naturally. The silent man is calm, composed, untouchable. The talkative one becomes exposed, overextended, and predictable. Application: in any scenario where words are weapons, adopt restraint. Let the other party dominate the conversation. Observe patterns of thought and behavior. Allow them to confirm what you already suspect or to reveal vulnerabilities you can later exploit strategically. Silence magnifies discomfort. People hate not being understood or in control. By simply withholding your reaction, you turn the tables, forcing them into psychological submission. Remember, silence is not weakness. It is strategy. Your composure becomes a mirror reflecting the flaws, fears, and mistakes of others. Their need to fill the empty space confirms their lack of discipline, their lack of foresight, their lack of control. Every misstep they reveal is ammunition. Every unnecessary word becomes evidence of their inferiority in the hierarchy of power. The law is simple, yet profoundly effective. Remain silent, observe carefully, and allow others to betray themselves through their own speech. In doing so, you assert authority without aggression and dominate without confrontation. This is the art of psychological leverage, letting words work against the speaker while your silence fortifies your power. Quote, "Never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake." Learn this, apply it, and watch how silence transforms vulnerability into your advantage. Law 5. Speak only when it strengthens your frame. Words are powerful, but only when they reinforce authority. Most people speak to explain, justify, or seek approval. The result, weakness. The king speaks to command. Every word must solidify perception, project confidence, and reinforce the frame he has carefully built. Speak not to be understood and speak to assert dominance. The rest will interpret your brevity as mastery. Look at figures like Jordan Peterson or Elon Musk. They rarely over-explain. They speak sparingly, yet every statement carries immense weight. Their words are measured, deliberate, and commanding. They don't fill silence. They punctuate it. Their authority is not argued. It is undeniable. Observers fill in the gaps, amplifying perceived competence, intelligence, and power. That is the essence of framing. Your presence and words communicate superiority without pleading for validation. Application. Before speaking, ask yourself a simple question. Does this statement elevate my frame or diminish it? If it diminishes, remain silent. If it elevates, deliver it decisively and without hesitation. Emotion has no place in strategic communication. Uncertainty and justification are weaknesses. Every word should signal clarity, confidence, and control. Make your voice a weapon, not a distraction. Silence builds gravity. Gravity builds dominance. When you speak only to reinforce your authority, your words carry weight beyond their literal meaning. Every syllable becomes a marker of power, and every pause increases anticipation. People will listen closely, measure your intent, and adjust their behavior to your rhythm. The world begins to operate within your frame without you having to enforce it. In practice, limit your contributions in conversations, meetings, and arguments to moments that enhance perception. Avoid explaining yourself unnecessarily. Avoid oversharing. Avoid reacting to provocation. Your goal is not to be liked or understood. It is to be respected, followed, and observed. By controlling when and how you speak, you direct attention and influence the environment subtly, yet decisively. Rule: silence builds gravity. Gravity builds dominance. Master this principle. Let your speech be infrequent, intentional, and strategically deployed. Each word becomes a tool, each pause a measure of power. Speak less, mean more, and watch as your presence commands without effort. The man who masters this law is feared and respected, a living embodiment of calculated authority. Law 6. Let silence create mystery around you. Mystery is power. People fear, respect, and obsess over what they cannot fully understand. The loud, over-explaining individual reveals too much. His thoughts, intentions, and weaknesses are exposed like an open book. The silent man, however, conceals his motives, controls perception, and cultivates an aura of intrigue. Mystery forces others to speculate, project, and anticipate, which amplifies your influence without a single word being spoken. Introverted leaders, minimal speakers, and calculated strategists understand this principle intuitively. They reveal just enough to be followed, but not enough to be fully known. Their motives remain hidden, their decisions unpredictable, and their presence commanding. People defer to them because the unknown evokes respect and curiosity simultaneously. Their silence becomes the canvas on which others paint assumptions. unknowingly magnifying the leader's perceived power. Application is straightforward. Avoid sharing your intentions, emotions, or reasoning openly. Be unpredictable in behavior and decisions. Let actions communicate authority instead of words. In meetings, arguments, and personal interactions, allow ambiguity to operate as a silent lever of influence. The fewer people know, the more they speculate. The more they speculate, the more control you hold over perception. Each unanswered question, each measured pause, each subtle action increases your mystique, and with it, your power. Principle. The unknown version of you is the most powerful one. Silence transforms ordinary presence into something larger than life. By concealing your inner workings, you compel attention and loyalty. People will analyze, overthink, and adjust to you. Their imagination becomes your ally, filling gaps with admiration, caution, and compliance. Remember, mystery is not deceit. It is discipline. It is not about lying. It is about restraint. The silent strategist does not need to justify, explain, or reveal. He acts, observes, and lets perception work in his favor. Every withheld word is a strategic decision. Every measured omission cultivates influence. People respect what they cannot predict, and they fear what they cannot comprehend. Embrace the art of mystery and watch as ordinary interactions become opportunities for silent dominance. Let your silence shape perception, guide behavior, and amplify authority. By becoming the enigma, you transform from a participant in the room into its unspoken ruler. Law 7. Withdraw your words to regain control. Silence is a weapon far more powerful than words when wielded strategically. In moments of disrespect, betrayal, or gossip, the instinctive response is to retaliate, explain, or defend. The impulsive man gives away power through reaction, revealing anger, fear, or uncertainty. The master, however, understands that withdrawing words is often the most commanding act he can take. Silence recalibrates the balance of power, creating confusion, uncertainty, and hesitation in those who would challenge him. Consider a scenario where you are betrayed or spoken about behind your back. Immediate response can escalate conflict and dilute authority. Staying quiet, however, forces your adversaries to confront the consequences of their actions without your interference. Their attempts to provoke or destabilize you fail, exposing their desperation. Silence becomes a mirror reflecting their weakness, while your composure amplifies your strength. Nothing confuses enemies more than the absence of reaction. Their misjudgment becomes your advantage. Application. When provoked, step back instead of stepping into the fray. Withdraw from confrontations temporarily or permanently if needed. Let time and context magnify your influence. Observers will notice your restraint, allies will respect your patience, and adversaries will miscalculate your intentions. The world measures power by composure, and silence is its most visible demonstration. Elizabeth Kenny said, "He who angers you conquers you." Retaliation surrenders authority. Restraint retains it. By mastering the discipline to pause, to observe, and to withhold words, you reclaim control over both the situation and your own perception. Time becomes your ally, allowing your enemy's actions to confirm your superiority without a single uttered argument. Silence also grants strategic advantage. Withdrawing your words allows for careful planning, repositioning, and observation. It is not absence but deliberate recalibration. Those who rush to speak, explain, or defend act from impulse. Those who wait, restrain, and observe act from power. Every withheld reaction is a reinforcement of authority, a quiet but unmistakable demonstration of dominance. In practice, embrace the art of withdrawal. Let the world speak, speculate, and misinterpret while you maintain composure and clarity. Your silence will turn attacks into lessons, provocations into opportunities, and disrespect into evidence of your superiority. In mastering silence, you master influence, and in mastering influence, you master the world around you. Law 8. Use silence as psychological warfare. Silence can be the deadliest strategy in any contest of wills. While others rush to fill the void with noise, the disciplined man uses absence of speech to destabilize opponents, provoke confession, and control the tempo of power. When you refuse to react, manipulators lose their map. They begin to doubt their tactics, misstate their aims, and reveal weaknesses they never intended to expose. Silence is not surrender. It is active offense, an invisible blade that cuts through illusion. Machiavelli practiced this in the subtle arts of diplomacy. He understood that a pause, a withheld response, or a delayed envoy could force rivals into premature moves. Give a man too much time to respond, and he will reveal his strategy. Withhold the expected reply and watch the ignorant scramble, guessing motives and exposing connections. That uncertainty is your window. As others attempt to reduce ambiguity, they overcommit, confess, or align themselves into positions you can later exploit. Psychological warfare is rarely loud. It is surgical. The mechanics are simple but powerful. Silence creates cognitive pressure. Human minds resist unresolved social stimuli. They crave closure. When you withhold it, people try to resolve the tension by speaking more, by rationalizing, by inventing explanations. Each additional word they offer is data. Each attempt to provoke you is a gift. Where they expect immediate reaction, give nothing. Where they expect defense, provide stillness. Let discomfort work on them while you retain clarity. In practical terms, weaponize pauses and eye contact. Hold a gaze that does not demand explanation. Pause deliberately after a question, after an accusation, or after a demand. Don't look away to break the tension. Extend it strategically. 2 seconds of silence can feel like an eternity to someone untrained in restraint. That length forces them to compensate. In negotiations, let the other party speak until they run out of useful concessions. In debates, answer only when your words will decisively shift the argument, never to soothe ego. In personal conflict, allow silence to reveal guilt or intent without your interference. Train this skill like any other. Practice pausing before you reply to texts. Wait before you respond in meetings. And hold silence as a deliberate posture in heated moments. Combine this with controlled facial expressions and measured breathing. Your calm will make others frantic. Their frantic speech will make their positions clear. Your collected mind will be the instrument that interprets and uses that clarity. Rule: the one who can stay silent longer wins. Master silence as an offensive tactic. Make your stillness a weapon that fractures plans and exposes truth. When others shout and scheme, let your fighting. Law 9, the strategic disappearance. Presence is valuable, but absence is priceless. The man who is always visible becomes ordinary. The one who disappears strategically becomes a legend. Withdrawal is not avoidance. It is an instrument of influence. By removing yourself temporarily from social groups, conversations, or environments, you force others to reassess your importance. Absence creates curiosity, desire, and respect, magnifying the perception of your value far beyond what your words could achieve. History offers countless examples. Roman generals, for instance, would retreat after victories or conflicts, not out of fear, but to restore awe and recalibrate perception. Their absence made their return momentous. Subordinates and peers speculated. Allies reassessed loyalty, and rivals feared unknown plans. The strategic withdrawal transformed ordinary leaders into mythic figures. People chase what they cannot reach, and scarcity intensifies perceived power. Application: in modern life, you must adopt the same principle. Step back from conversations that drain influence or dilute authority. Withdraw from social obligations or online interactions that fail to elevate your status. Let your absence create psychological pressure. The longer you remain strategically unavailable, the more people talk, speculate, and wonder about your motives. They begin to chase, to accommodate, and to compete for your attention, all while you maintain composure and clarity. This law is not about isolation. It is about control. The timing of disappearance is critical. Too often men vanish randomly, confusing allies and emboldening enemies. The strategic disappearance is deliberate. Choose moments when absence will maximize anticipation and reinforce your frame. Return only when your re-emergence commands notice, shifts dynamics, or reasserts authority. Each exit and re-entry should enhance your mystique and leverage. Principle: when they can't reach you, they start chasing you. Scarcity amplifies value. In any environment, workplace, social circle, or family, consistent availability diminishes respect. By contrast, strategic absence elevates status, making every word, action, or appearance carry weight. People remember you not for constant presence, but for moments that reveal controlled power. The master of strategic disappearance understands that influence is not measured by volume or activity, but by impact and perception. Your silence, absence, and deliberate withdrawal become tools of dominance. Others overextend themselves, miscalculate your intention. Law 10. Replace noise with observation. Most people talk to be heard, but the truly powerful talk only when necessary. While others fill the air with noise, explanations, and opinions, the master observes. Every word others speak is data, revealing priorities, weaknesses, desires, and strategies. Noise is wasted energy. Observation is capital. By remaining silent, you accumulate intelligence that becomes leverage far beyond any immediate conversation. Knowledge is power, and silence is its vehicle. Consider the dynamics of meetings, negotiations, or social environments. People rush to assert themselves, dominate dialogue, or prove superiority. Each overstatement, each defensive comment, each emotional outburst becomes a blueprint of intention and vulnerability. By listening, by watching, by noting patterns, you gather the tools to act decisively. When the time comes, your moves are precise, calculated, and impossible to contest. Noise is temporary. Observation is enduring. Example: in a workplace meeting, those who speak first often reveal their agenda, alliances, and fears. By letting others dominate the conversation, you collect these details silently. Later, when decisions are made or actions are required, you act from a position of knowledge. Your influence comes not from verbal dominance, but from calculated intervention, based on insight that others never knew you possessed. This is the essence of leverage, controlling outcomes while appearing unobtrusive. Application: replace impulsive speech with deliberate observation. In professional settings, take notes, read body language, and analyze tone. In personal interactions, listen more than you speak, and watch for emotional cues that reveal priorities or insecurities. Use writing to clarify thought instead of over-explaining verbally. Study before arguing. Prepare before engaging. Let silence be your tool to accumulate advantage, turning every interaction into an intelligence-gathering operation. Silence combined with observation creates a psychological edge. People assume they know you because you are present, but their assumptions are incomplete. Every pause, every non-committal response, every thoughtful gaze makes them fill gaps with conjecture, often overestimating your influence. Observation enhances this effect, allowing you to exploit their blind spots, anticipate their reactions, and act before they realize your strategy. Rule: knowledge is invisible power. Noise reveals. Observation conceals. The man who observes while others speak holds the map, the plan, and the initiative. By collecting intelligence quietly, you convert silence into leverage, transforming patience into dominance. Replace noise with observation, and let every word of yours strike with the force of insight. Law 11. Make silence your emotional shield. Emotional mastery begins with silence. Without verbal restraint, emotion dictates action, and action dictated by emotion is predictable, impulsive, and weak. The reactive man loses authority with every defensive word, every excuse, and every outburst. The master knows that restraint in speech is the foundation of composure. Silence is not absence, it is armor. It shields the mind from provocation, shields perception from distortion, and shields power from erosion. Conflict and manipulation thrive on noise. The aggressor seeks to provoke, the manipulator seeks to bait, and the insecure seek to unsettle. Responding with words often escalates the situation, giving control to the instigator. By remaining silent, you break their cycle. Their attempts to provoke you become impotent. Their manipulation fails because it meets no emotional reaction. Silence turns aggression into impotence and chaos into clarity. Consider a practical example. An insult hurled in a meeting, a slight made publicly, or a provocation in a relationship. The reactive person replies immediately, justifying, explaining, or defending, their emotions now laid bare for all to see. The master, however, absorbs the insult silently, maintains composure, and allows the aggressor's own actions to expose weakness. Observers recognize the calm authority and instinctively align with it. Silence transforms confrontation into a demonstration of dominance. Application. Make silence a deliberate emotional tool. In arguments, pause before responding. In negotiations, let provocations go unanswered until they serve your strategy. In manipulative situations, respond minimally, if at all, allowing your calm to unsettle and redirect. Train yourself to separate thought from speech. Assess, analyze, and choose action only when it consolidates power. Your words should reinforce composure, never betray it. Quote, "Power begins where noise ends." Internalize this truth. Every unspoken word preserves authority. Every restraint builds influence. Silence allows you to act from clarity rather than impulse, to see through manipulation, and to maintain control over your own emotions. It converts aggression into opportunity and pressure into leverage. By mastering silence as an emotional shield, you create a state of invulnerability. Your presence alone becomes commanding. Adversaries hesitate, allies respect, and your inner composure, cultivated through restraint, ensures that no provocateur, manipulator, or chaotic situation can disrupt your trajectory. Silence is not emptiness. It is strategy, dominance, and self-control embodied. Law 12. Become the man whose silence commands rooms. The pinnacle of power is not in speaking, but in commanding presence without uttering a word. The man whose silence dominates a room requires no validation, no applause, and no explanation. His authority is instinctively recognized. Every gesture, every measured glance, every pause in conversation communicates control and influence. Words, when used sparingly and strategically, are amplified. They land with impact because they emerge from an aura of unshakable composure. Consider the leaders who achieve this naturally. They are calm, deliberate, and minimal in speech, yet they hold attention effortlessly. Their silence is magnetic. Colleagues, rivals, and allies alike instinctively defer, measure their words, and consider their actions in response to his presence. The power of such a man is invisible yet undeniable. No speech could replicate it. No explanation could enhance it. Silence itself becomes the instrument of control. Application. Cultivate this ability through discipline. Silence is not the absence of activity, but the mastery of restraint. Practice reading, meditation, and self-control to strengthen mental clarity. Observe how you interact. Notice when you speak impulsively or unnecessarily. Gradually reduce verbal clutter. Let observation, thoughtful action, and calculated speech define your interactions. Build the habit of letting your presence communicate more than your words ever could. In social, professional, and personal spaces, silence converts presence into authority. By speaking less, you make every word count. By observing more, you anticipate and influence outcomes before others realize they are being guided. By mastering restraint, you establish yourself as a figure of power that others instinctively respect and follow. Silence becomes a language, precise, commanding, and irresistible. Rule: speak less, meaning more. Rule quietly. Internalize this as the final law of silence. Every action, glance, and pause contributes to a perception of mastery. Your presence alone directs attention, shapes behavior, and asserts authority. You no longer compete in the cacophony of chatter. You rise above it. And in doing so, you become the standard by which others measure influence. The ultimate king is not the loudest, nor the most forceful, but the one whose calm, measured silence transforms rooms into arenas of his command. Cultivate this presence relentlessly. Discipline your speech, refine your observation, and elevate your composure. The man who masters silence does not merely participate. He controls the environment, commands attention, and exerts influence without effort. This is the final step in creating power that is enduring, magnetic, and absolute. Silence is not the absence of action or influence, it is mastery itself. Every word you refrain from saying strengthens your position, amplifies your authority, and sharpens your perception. While most men rush to fill the air with explanations, justifications, and emotional reactions, the strategist uses silence as a tool, a shield, and a weapon. The quiet man listens, observes, and calculates, turning each interaction into an opportunity for influence. Power does not demand attention through volume. It commands through presence. Reflect on the journey through these 12 laws. You have learned to speak only when it strengthens your frame, to let pauses and absence create value, and to transform silence into a strategic force. You have discovered how observation replaces noise, how restraint becomes leverage, and how mystery enhances authority. From reactive talker to calm strategist, you are now equipped to operate in any room, any meeting, or any conversation with precision and dominance. The habits of silence are not weakness, they are the bedrock of enduring influence. The transformation is profound. Where once impulsive words betrayed insecurity and eroded respect, now calculated restraint establishes power effortlessly. Where chatter created confusion, your silence now directs perception. Where over-explaining exposed vulnerability, your measured presence exudes authority. You are no longer at the mercy of provocation or manipulation. Instead, you control the narrative, set the tempo, and define the hierarchy. This is the essence of kingship in the modern world: to act with purpose, speak with intention, and dominate without shouting. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to justify your choices to earn respect. Power does not scream and it stands still. The room notices the calm, measured figure. Observers align instinctively. Adversaries hesitate, unsure of your next move. Allies follow silently, trusting in your leadership. Every unspoken word becomes a lever, every pause a marker of authority, and every absence a statement of value. Silence is the architecture of influence. Noise is the chaos of followers. If you are ready to master silence, subscribe to this channel and commit to the discipline required. Comment below with "I move in silence" to declare your mindset and align yourself with the principles that transform ordinary presence into commanding power. Study these laws, apply them, and let them become instinctual. Your authority is measured not by how loudly you speak, but by how decisively your silence shapes the world around you. Because in the end, silence builds empires. Noise builds followers. Remember, the quiet strategist rules without contest, commands without argument, and dominates without declaration. Embrace restraint. Observe carefully. Speak sparingly. Move deliberately. And in that stillness, you will discover the true power that others can only envy, but never replicate.